The first time she kissed me, I knew it was a lie. The second time I started wishing it wasn't. Her lips tasted of peppermint and fear, like she had memorized the choreography of affection but never believed in its rhythm. And me? I was stupid enough to think I could make her dance to the beat of her own heart. New York in autumn has a way of magnifying loneliness. The streets are alive with chatter, yellow cabs slicing through the wind, but all it takes is one secret to silence everything else. That secret wrapped itself around my life like ivy, suffocating yet strangely beautiful. Her name was Arya Cole. The kind of girl people couldn't look away from, dark hair cascading down her shoulders, eyes like midnight glass, and a smile that could bend rules without ever asking permission. But Arya wasn't mine. Not really. She agreed to be, though. The deal was simple. She would pretend to be my girlfriend, and I would unknowingly become the cover for something she didn't dare say out loud. What I didn't know was that the arrangement would consume me until pretending became the cruelest truth of all. We met in the most ridiculous way. I was late for my shift at a downtown cafe, sprinting across Fifth Avenue with a tray of coffees balanced like a lunatic, when she slammed right into me. Caramel latte all over my shirt, foam in my hair, and she didn't even look sorry. "Watch where you're going," she snapped, brushing her sleeve as if my existence had smudged it. I wanted to tell her off, maybe throw the latte cup at her smug face, but then her eyes caught mine. Not in the sweet, oh my god, love at first sight kind of way. No. It was more like I'd accidentally read a secret diary entry she didn't want anyone to see. And just like that, she vanished. For 3 days I couldn't stop replaying her face in my head, until she walked into the cafe again, this time with a proposition. "I need you to date me," she said, sliding into the corner booth like she owned the place. I nearly choked on my cappuccino. "Excuse me. You heard me." Her tone was cool, almost rehearsed. "I need a fake girlfriend. Someone ordinary. Someone people wouldn't question." I should have laughed in her face. I should have told her she was insane. Instead, I found myself asking, "And what do I get out of it?" Her lips curved into a smile that felt like both a warning and a promise. "You'll find out." That's how it started. A stupid game. Holding hands in front of her friends. Laughing at jokes that weren't funny. Posting carefully staged photos where her head rested against my shoulder, and I pretended it didn't feel like electricity. But beneath the act, I noticed things. The way she flinched when her phone buzzed. How she lingered too long in the bathroom after taking a call. How sometimes, in the quiet moments between us, her smile slipped into something fragile. Arya Cole wasn't just hiding. She was running. From what I didn't know yet. And I hated myself for wanting to be the reason she stopped. Our first real fight wasn't even real. We were supposed to stage it, a show for her friends to make our relationship look authentic. But halfway through pretending to yell at her in a crowded bar, something inside me snapped. "You don't even see me," I said louder than intended. The music dimmed in my ears, the chatter blurred into static. Arya's eyes widened, caught between the performance and the truth. "Isn't that the point?" she whispered back so quietly only I could hear. And in that moment I realized, she hadn't chosen me because I was ordinary. She had chosen me because I was disposable. Still I stayed. I stayed because of the nights when she would let her guard slip just barely. Like when we sat on the fire escape outside her apartment, legs dangling above the hum of the city, and she told me she hated the dark but loved the stars. Or the way her ray all laugh, not the social armor would echo in the small spaces we created together. I stayed because every lie she told the world made me desperate for the truth she never gave me. And because, despite everything, I was already falling. It wasn't until I followed her one night that I realized the depth of the secret. She left our staged date at midnight, claiming she had to check on a friend. I didn't believe her. Something in her voice cracked, and I couldn't ignore it anymore. So I trailed behind, careful not to be seen. She ended up in a neighborhood I'd only heard about in whispers, dim streetlights, walls covered in graffiti, the kind of place where silence felt dangerous. Then I saw her, Arya, meeting with a man in a leather jacket, exchanging words too hushed for me to hear. His hand gripped her arm too tightly. She didn't resist. When he finally let go, she stumbled back, clutching something in her pocket. That's when it hit me. Arya wasn't just hiding from her family or society. She was tangled in something bigger, something that could break her. An apathetic, lovesick Mew was already in too deep. By the time I confronted her, I was shaking. "You don't get to drag me into your life and keep me in the dark," I said, my voice trembling. "If this is just a game to you, fine. But I deserve to know what I'm covering for." Her silence felt heavier than any scream. Finally, she whispered, "If you knew, you'd run. Then let me decide." She looked at me, then really looked. For the first time since we met, the armor cracked completely. And what I saw in her eyes terrified me. Not just fear but desperation. "Please," she said, voice breaking. "Don't make me choose between you and survival." And just like that, I realized I wasn't pretending anymore. I loved her, even if it meant falling headfirst into her secret. The night after she whispered those words, "Didn't make me choose between you and survival," I couldn't sleep. My apartment felt too small, too loud, like the walls themselves were replaying the conversation on a loop. I wanted to believe she was exaggerating, that whatever she was running from couldn't possibly be as dangerous as the look in her eyes suggested. But deep down I knew. Secrets like hers didn't come from nothing. Days passed, but her walls were higher than ever. She still held my hand in public, still kissed my cheek like we were part of some perfectly orchestrated romance. Yet the moment the cameras, the eyes of friends, strangers, the world were gone, she turned to glass. Fragile. Cold. Transparent enough for me to see she wasn't really there. It hurt. God, it hurt. Because I wasn't just a decoy anymore. I was hers whether she wanted me or not. And still I stayed. One evening, she invited me to a rooftop party hosted by one of her so-called friends. The kind of people who wore designer clothes without price tags, who laughed too loudly and drank champagne like it was water. I felt like a ghost floating between them. A girl from a small cafe who had accidentally stepped onto a stage I didn't belong on. Arya was flawless as always, her arm looped through mine, her smile bright enough to blind. But I noticed the tension in her shoulders, the way her eyes darted every time her phone buzzed in her clutch. At some point I excused myself to the balcony, needing air. That's when I overheard them. "She's still seeing him?" a voice whispered behind me. "Yeah, no idea why. But if anyone finds out, it's over for her. She'll drag whoever's with her down too." I froze. My heart kicked against my ribs. They didn't say her name, but they didn't have to. I turned, pretending I hadn't heard, and nearly ran into Arya herself. She searched my face for something, maybe guilt, maybe fear. I gave her neither. But later, when she kissed me goodnight at my door, I couldn't help thinking, what if I'm already falling with her, straight into whatever over means? A week later, the facade cracked. It was late, past midnight, when she showed up at my apartment. Her knuckles were raw, her lips split, her hair disheveled. She looked nothing like the untouchable girl I had met. "Don't ask," she said as soon as I opened the door. But how could I not? I pulled her inside, grabbed the first aid kit, and sat her down on my couch. My hands shook as I dabbed at her lip, but she didn't flinch. Not once. "Why do you keep doing this to yourself?" I whispered. Her eyes met mine, hollow and tired. "Because it's the only way to keep them safe." "Who?" "My family," she breathed. "And now, maybe you." My heart cracked wide open. Whatever danger she was in, whatever shadows followed her, she was carrying it all alone. And she thought she could keep me untouched, as if my heart hadn't already made its choice. I leaned back, staring at her. "Arya, if you want me out, you have to say it. But if you keep me here, you don't get to lock me out of the truth." Silence. Heavy, suffocating silence. Then slowly she nodded. And for the first time she began to tell me everything. Her father had been a city councilman, respected, beloved, or at least, that's what the world thought. But behind closed doors he was tangled in deals that never saw the light of day. Shady business partners, debts paid in whispers, hands shaking over envelopes that carried promises. When he died 2 years ago, those debts didn't vanish. They shifted. To her. "I was supposed to inherit his clean name," she said, voice trembling. "But instead I inherited his enemies. The man you saw me with that night, that owns a piece of me now. And he'll keep owning it until I pay him back." I stared at her, my chest tightening. "Arya, you can't carry this alone. There has to be another way." She laughed bitterly. "There isn't. I tried. And now I'm stuck. So I built a shield. That's what you are." If people think I'm happy, untouchable, in love, then maybe they won't look too closely at what's really going on. My stomach twisted. So that was it. I wasn't just a girlfriend. I was camouflage. And yet, even as the truth crushed me, I couldn't walk away. Because I saw the way she said it, the way her hands trembled as though admitting it out loud cost her something enormous. Then let me be more than a shield, I said. Her eyes widened. Let me be someone who fights for you, not just hides you. The days that followed blurred into a strange rhythm. By day we played the perfect couple, her hand warm in mine, laughter rehearsed until it almost felt real. By night we sat in my apartment, her secrets unraveling one by one, until the weight of them pressed into both of us. I learned about the man. His name was Victor Hale. He wasn't just a loan shark or a street-level thug. He was connected, the kind of man who had roots in every shadow of the city. He controlled people not with love or loyalty but with fear. And Arya? She had inherited a debt that wasn't hers to pay. I hated him instantly. Hated the way he bruised her arm. The way he forced her into deals she couldn't refuse. Hated that she thought she had to face him alone. One night, as she fell asleep on my couch, I sat awake staring at her. The city hummed outside, headlights streaking across the ceiling. She looked peaceful for once, the hard edges of her face softened in sleep. That's when I knew I couldn't just sit by. If loving her meant burning myself in the fire she was trapped in, so be it. I was already hers beyond saving. The next morning I told her my plan. Are you insane? She hissed. You can't go near him. You'll only make it worse. Worse than this. I shot back. Worse than you showing up at my door bleeding, terrified and broken? No, Arya. You're not facing him alone anymore. Her eyes burned not with anger but with fear. You'll regret this. I shook my head. No. The only thing I'll regret is watching you drown while I stand on the shore. She didn't argue after that. She just turned away, tears shining at the edge of her lashes. The first confrontation with Victor wasn't cinematic. There was no dramatic showdown, no perfect speeches. It was messy, terrifying, and real. I followed Arya to one of his meetings, hiding in the shadows until I couldn't take it anymore. He cornered her, his voice low and menacing, demanding things she couldn't give. That's when I stepped out. Enough. Both of them froze. Arya's eyes widened in horror. Victor's lips curled into a smirk. And who the hell are you? He asked. I swallowed hard. Someone who won't let you keep breaking her. He laughed, a cold, bone-deep sound. Cute. Another little shield. Do you know how many people have tried to stand where you're standing? Do you know how many of them are still around? My voice shook, but I didn't back down. I don't care. Because I'm not leaving her. Arya pulled me back, whispering frantically. Please stop. You don't know what you're doing. But I did know. Maybe not the details, maybe not the full cost. But I knew this, I loved her. And love like mine didn't survive in the shadows. Victor's eyes glinted. You've got fire. Shame it'll get you burned. For a moment I thought he would strike me. But instead he leaned back, smirked and let us go. But the warning in his voice as we left followed me home. You'll pay one way or another. Back in my apartment, Arya collapsed into my arms, shaking. You don't understand, she whispered. He's not bluffing. He'll come for you now. I wanted to protect you. That's why I kept you in the dark. I held her tighter. And now I'm in it with you. No more secrets, Arya. If we're going down together. Her tears soaked into my shirt, and for the first time she didn't push me away. She let herself break in my arms, and I swore to myself, whatever it took, I would find a way to free her, even if it meant risking everything. The storm always comes before the silence. Victor made good on his warning. It didn't happen in the way movies paint villains, no sudden car chases or gunfights. It was subtler, quieter, and somehow more terrifying. A shadow in the corner of the cafe where I worked. A stranger lingering too long near my apartment building. Calls with no voice on the other end. And Arya, God, Arya, she broke a little more each day, watching me live with the danger she thought she had trapped for herself alone. One night, when the fear felt too thick to breathe through, I snapped. I can't do this anymore, I told her, pacing the length of my tiny apartment. I can't just wait for him to take everything from you. From us. Her face was pale, her voice raw. There is no us, remember? You weren't supposed to get involved. You were supposed to be safe. Too late, I said. You can lie to yourself all you want, Arya, but don't lie to me. There is an us. And I'm not giving it up. Her eyes shone with tears she didn't let fall. Then she whispered the words that broke me and built me all at once. I'm terrified of what loving you will cost. The turning point came unexpectedly. One of Victor's men showed up at the cafe, cornering me in the alley during my break. His voice was casual, almost polite, as he leaned against the wall. You've got guts, sweetheart. But guts won't keep you alive. Walk away now, and maybe you'll get to keep breathing. I don't know what possessed me, but I laughed. It wasn't brave, it was desperate. If I walk away, she'll keep bleeding. And if she bleeds, I bleed. That's how this works now. His smile faded. For a heartbeat, I thought he might hit me. Instead, he muttered, You're either the stupidest girl I've ever met, or the bravest. And then he walked away. I told Arya what happened that night, expecting her to scream to beg me to leave. Instead, she sat in silence, her fingers twisted together in her lap. Finally, she said, My whole life, I've been waiting for someone to see me. Not the version I built, not the smile I perfected. Just me. And now that you do, I don't know how to let you. I took her hands, prying them apart gently. Then don't let me. Just hold me. And for the first time she kissed me like it wasn't an act, like it wasn't camouflage. It was raw and trembling and real. The final confrontation wasn't planned. It never is. Victor cornered Arya one last time, demanding a debt she couldn't pay, threatening to take everything she loved if she didn't comply. This time I was there. And I wasn't silent. Enough, I said, stepping between them. My voice was steadier than I felt. You've taken enough from her. If you want to destroy someone, destroy me. Victor laughed, cold and sharp. You think you're a martyr? You're nothing. Maybe, I admitted. But she's everything. And if you want to keep your empire, you don't get to break her. Because if you do, I swear, I'll burn it all down with you inside. Something in my voice, or maybe something in Arya's defiance as she stood beside me, made him pause. For the first time he didn't smirk. He studied us, weighed us, and finally spat on the ground. Fine, he growled. You're not worth the trouble. And just like that he walked away. It didn't feel like victory. Not at first. It felt like the thin air after holding your breath too long. But for Arya it was freedom. The days after were a blur. She cut ties, moved out of the apartment that had become a cage, and began to breathe like someone who hadn't tasted oxygen in years. And me? I stayed. Through the nightmares, through the tears, through the long silences where words couldn't touch the scars left behind. We weren't perfect. God, we weren't even close. She carried guilt like an anchor, and I carried fear that one day she'd wake up and decide love wasn't enough. But every morning, when she reached for my hand before she even opened her eyes, I knew we had survived the storm. Months later, we sat on that same fire escape where it had all begun. The city hummed below us, lights glowing like 1,000 untold stories. She leaned her head on my shoulder and whispered, Do you ever regret it? Choosing me. I laughed softly. Every single day. Her head snapped up, startled. I kissed her forehead before she could panic. I regret not meeting you sooner. I regret all the nights you thought you had to carry everything alone. I regret every second I spent pretending it was just an act. But choosing you? No, Arya. That's the one thing I'll never regret. Her eyes softened, and for once she let the tears fall. And in that fragile, perfect moment I knew. She hadn't agreed to date me just to hide a secret anymore. She had chosen me. For real. The silence after a storm is never truly silent. It hums with the memory of what came before, with the relief of survival, with the fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, the sun will rise again. For us it did. And this time it wasn't an act. It was love. Real, messy, terrifying, beautiful love. The kind you don't walk away from. The kind you fall into and never return. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe to get notifications about next videos.